Hello, this is Rick Cunningham with Cunningham Law. Today I'd like to talk about 5 reasons why your house should be in a trust. But first, a little bit about us. Cunningham Law is a business law, estate planning, and tax matters firm. Our mission is to help businesses and families keep more of what is theirs. And we've been doing this for over 20 years. So let's talk about placing your home in a trust. For most people, their home is their most valuable asset. And when you place your house in a trust, the trust becomes the owner, and that gives you some protections and benefits. But first, let's talk a little bit about what that trust is. The trust is a revocable trust. That means the trust can be amended or revoked at any time. So that means that you have flexibility and you can change it as your family grows, as your circumstances change, and that gives you the most flexibility. But these types of trusts do give you some benefits. Now let's talk about them. The first one is that you get to avoid probate. Probate is the process where once you pass, your executor or personal representative would submit your will to the court. The court would then determine whether your will is valid and then would admit the will into probate and appoint your personal representative or executor as an executor and giving them what are called letters testamentary. This is an expensive and time-consuming process. And during the probate process, and until you get your executor appointed, your assets are frozen, can't be accessed. And so it's hard to pay ongoing bills and expenses sometimes. In addition, probate is a public forum. So your will is a public document. All the pleadings and all the filings are public. So people can search the court records and find where your assets are going. If you have a trust, that is not the case. The trust is confidential and does not go into court unless there is a trust contest. Finally, let's talk about the expense. Reason why probate is so expensive is that you have to go to court to get things approved. And then your personal representative and the attorneys have a percentage of the estate as their fees. So probate can be expensive, time-consuming, and really public, and that may not be what you would like to have. The next benefit is that a trust allows you to still have some of the same benefits that you have for your regular income tax. And also can be used to help avoid or minimize estate taxes. That is a little bit more complex, avoiding estate taxes. What we would try to do is take advantage of marital deductions and certain types of trusts or sub-trusts under the trust to take advantage of the estate tax exemption. It's a little bit more in depth than this video, but it can be done. But the income tax benefits of having your assets in trust still remain. If you sell your house, you still are able to take advantage of the Section 121 exemption for gain. So if you were an individual and not married and you sold your house, up to $250,000 of capital gains can be excluded. If you're married, it's $500,000. You still have those benefits, even though your house is in trust. In addition, you still get the mortgage deduction for the interest, and you also get the deduction for the real estate taxes. So you still retain tax benefits when you have your home in a trust. The third thing is that you can still have asset protection. Most of the time when you hear attorneys talk, we always say that revocable trusts don't provide asset protection. Well, when we're talking about your home, there's an exception. Nevada law has a homestead law. That means up to $605,000 of the equity in your house can be protected from creditors. If you file or record something called a Declaration of Homestead, if you have your house in trust, Nevada law allows you to still make a declaration of homestead. So if your house is in trust and it is your primary residence, you can protect up to $605,000 of equity of your house. So it still has some asset protection and still have all the other benefits that we've already mentioned. Another reason to have your assets in trust and your home in trust in particular is that if you become incapacitated. Trust estate planning is not just for death, it's also for incapacity. So once you have your assets in trust, and if you became incapacitated, your successor trustee can step right in and continue to manage your assets. That means if you had anything that happens with your house and you were incapacitated, your successor trustee could still handle and manage your house, even though you haven't died, and even though you're not able to make decisions for yourself, that trusted person that you've already nominated can do so. And last but not least is you have some flexibility in transferring your assets to your heirs. Under a trust, you can be as inventive as you want. You can set the conditions of how and when your beneficiaries will receive their inheritance. And a trust does provide some flexibility when you have blended families. So for example, if you were married with a second marriage, and each of you had kids from a previous marriage and then have kids together, you could provide in your trust that the house is still for the benefit of the survivor of you. And then upon the death of you, your half or your share that you would have had can then go to all your kids. So your kids from previous marriage, and then also your kids that you have with your spouse, they can all be taken care of, but you can make sure that the spouse still has them in trust. They can still use the house, but you have set in stone that your kids will receive your half of the house upon the death of your spouse. There's some other things that we can do as well for blended families, but again, this is beyond the scope of this particular video. But if you'd like to talk more about that, or if you want to talk about anything that we've discussed, all you have to do is reach out and set up a consultation with me. We have 30 minutes for a free consultation. I can sit down and talk with you, and my 20 years of experience in estate planning and tax we can work and see if we can come up with a solution for you. So the first step would be reach out, let's schedule a 30-minute consultation, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you.